للتطبيع، لا لبيع القدس، لا للتفريط لفلسطين، لا للتنازل عن حق العودة، ولا للاعتراف بإسرائيل.
Самое громкое, что сейчас происходит, это события во Франции. Череда неких терактов, которые там произошли, и, соответственно, марш единства, ну, это одно из названий.
More than 40 world leaders, often at odds with each other, marched together today.
Вот что меня сразу очень сильно как бы насторожило. Значит, 7 января происходит атака на редакцию журнала. 8 января происходит нападение на сотрудницу полиции. 9 января злоумышленники, ну, точнее один там, да, захватывают, значит, заложников в еврейском магазине и расстреливает 4. А 11 уже проходит марш единства, который собирает 1,5 миллиона человек в Париже, 4 миллиона человек по всей Франции. Вот.
The feel-good factor of today's huge and peaceful march has eased tensions in France somewhat. But the country is now facing hard questions about homegrown violent extremism and how the French state proposes to keep its citizens.
Вы, как руководитель партии ПВО, вы представляете, сколько надо труда, усилий, чтобы вывести большое количество людей на улицу там, под какими-либо лозунгами или какими-либо знаменами. А тут мало того, что они вышли таким количеством, у них уже все было подготовлено. У них были распечатаны всякие плакатики, листовочки, надписи вот на голове.
Back up. Okay, let's look at some of the actual forensic evidence or direct evidence that this was a false flag. The stuff that so many of these people were pointing to, from the Turkish politicians to the Russian intelligentsia to Paul Craig Roberts, the former Assistant Secretary of the Treasury, one of the 100 most influential people in the world, according to Who's Who. He's in the book saying it's a false flag. Why? Well, here's a piece of evidence.
I'm going to show you some footage of the Charlie Hebdo shootings, which has been restricted or taken down from a number of websites. As you'll see, it contains no blood, gore, or graphic violence. It does, however, punch a major hole in the official story. You can draw your own conclusions. The following clip was played on France 24. You'll notice in the middle, a section is edited out.
Des coups de feu en plein Paris. Deux hommes viennent d'abattre un policier. Il est 11h30 ce mercredi. Armés et cagoulés, les deux hommes repartent. Ils revendiquent leur acte.
Let's look at the clip that was edited out. Now, if we zoom in and slow it down, you'll see that the officer isn't actually hit by a bullet. There is a blast that hits the sidewalk just in front of him, but he is clearly not hit in the head as corporate media is claiming. Let's watch it again. Notice that the head isn't rocked by the blast as it would be if he was actually hit. Notice the plume of dust about a foot in front of him as the shot hits the ground. This is an AK-47. A hit to the head would splatter blood and brains all over the sidewalk. Anyone who claims that this footage shows someone being hit in the head by a 7.62 by 39mm round either has no experience with guns or is lying. This is a big bullet that does massive damage and makes a bloody mess. This officer was not killed by a gunshot to the head. My first thought here was, okay, they missed. Just one problem. Every single mainstream media outlet is claiming that he was finished off with a shot to the head, and that's blatantly false. So then you have to ask, what else are they lying about?
So we have a little problem here. This apparent shooting, it looks like what happens here is that the guy dressed up as the terrorist in the black ski mask goes by, kind of aims at the head, and then swivels the barrel a little further, so it's not aiming at the head when he actually fires the shot. And the shot then kicks up a little dust bunny on the sidewalk. An AK-47 bullet, a live round, would splinter and crater the concrete of the sidewalk. It wouldn't kick up a little dust bunny. So what this indicates is that he was shooting blanks. Blank rounds are cotton or paper wads, and the cotton or paper wad exits from the muzzle not at the head of the ostensible victim, but rather maybe a meter or so in front of him, and kicks up a little dust. So they're shooting blanks, and they're kind enough to not shoot the blank actually at the head of the ostensible victim, which would be very painful, though not life-threatening. That's very odd. If there's a fake shooting, in front of the Charlie Hebdo offices, and kind of makes you wonder what happened in those offices. Additionally, it's very odd that the media censored this video. The part that you just saw was never shown on the mainstream media. Why not? Well, as you heard, they censored it because, well, what they said was it was too bloody. They said, this is too gory and bloody, and we can't show you this part. Actually, the real problem was the opposite. It wasn't gory and bloody enough. It didn't show an actual shooting. This left a lot of people scratching their heads. And ballistics experts I've talked to all agree with the interpretation expressed in that video you saw. Okay, how about the sensible perpetrators? Let's go over what supposedly happened. These two guys, according to the most recent official story, the Kawachi brothers, entered the Charlie Hebdo offices, were able to talk their way past what little security there was, because interestingly, the level of security at the Charlie Hebdo office was massively downgraded a week before. So they got through there, went in, killed 11 people, wounded 11, fled, as you saw them supposedly fleeing. So who are these guys who did this? Now, the witnesses who saw this said these guys looked really slick, like special operations people who were just click, click, click going through. You know, they don't look like amateurs. Who are they? Well, the Kawachi brothers were a pair of hapless lowlifes, very, very well known to all the big intelligence agencies, not just French intelligence, but US, probably Israeli, and certainly British intelligence, because the British mainstream media has reported that these guys were totally covered by British intelligence. One of them, actually I think both of them, were busted for child pornography years before.
A gunman's triumphant cry. We've avenged the Prophet Muhammad, heard clearly in dramatic new footage showing Islamist militants Sharif and Saeed Kawachi moments after the Charlie Hebdo massacre. After calmly reloading their weapons, the pair make their getaway, firing on a police car blocking their path, which is forced to reverse at speed. It's thought the police vehicle was struck by several bullets, but the officers inside were unhurt. Unlike Ahmed Merabet, the policeman killed by the brothers nearby as he lay wounded on the ground. This amateur footage, filmed from a rooftop near Charlie Hebdo's offices, captures the start of a 3-day nightmare that France will never forget.
И карандаши, даже муляжи карандашей были сделаны. Вот это все требует подготовки. Я вот много это наблюдал, да, что вот даже вывести 100 человек, это надо 100 звонков сделать в течение 2 недель.
Чувствуется огромная подготовительная работа. Для того, чтобы вывести на улицы несколько миллионов человек, должен быть колоссальный подготовительный ресурс использован. Но мы с вами должны понимать, что эту демонстрацию устраивает
بإيدك نحمل أقصى من ثرى